Good morning, this is Lynn Wilson with Lynn Wilson Originals, and hopefully my camera, actually my camera looks a little crooked right now, but hopefully it is, I'm not diagonal or wonky on your screen. I did a live yesterday, and for some reason the whole thing recorded. If you were watching it, you had to tilt your head to see me straight. It recorded horizontal instead of vertical. So anyway, back here today, and I'm going to talk a little bit about applying furniture transfers. So furniture transfers they look like this, and you can buy them from Redesign with Prima, or you can buy them from, let's see, Iron Orchid Design. I always get that one wrong. I say Iron Orchard Design. But, and theirs are nice because they have a grid on the back, so it's really easy to keep them straight. But I get them from Etsy, and there's several people who sell them on Etsy. One of the people that I really like is Canterbury Creative, because she ships very quickly. There's several Canterbury Creatives on there, but this is the one with Heather Soman. So you know, I've ordered them from all over the place, and hers get here the fastest, which if you're doing a custom order for a client is pretty important. So there's different things to consider when you're buying a furniture transfer. I'm trying to find my container. They come in a tube. My dog was down here, and he got into it and rolled away. So this one is called Lovely Ledger, and you can kind of see what the picture looks like. I really like transfers that you can cut. There are some, and I've tried a couple, that are more like scenes, and I tried cutting them without the best results because it looked like I just kind of slapped something on there. These, when you peel them, this white is actually going to be the color of your furniture, so this is clear, and so you can cut them, and it's not like you're cutting into a scene. A lot of the scenes are all solid colors, and if you cut them, you've got a stark line, which I just don't like. So anyway, let's get started. As you can see, I've already cut into this one, and I like to kind of tape the pieces up to give me some idea of where I want them to go. And I haven't finished on this one yet, but I do know that I want this here and I want this here. And one of the reasons I want this here is because there is this cutoff line right here. I don't like having cutoff lines in the middle of my furniture. I want it to look like it was meant to go there. So, and I tape them up with just some painter's tape. And you can see here a couple of things going on. The knobs, I took off the knob, and I'm going to go ahead and put the furniture transfer on, and then I'll just press through the furniture transfer to put the knobs back on. The other thing that I'm going to be careful of is this groove in here. You know, maybe the furniture transfer will rip. I don't know. Sometimes they just go on really nicely, but either way, I think it's a nice result. So I've peeled it off. I'll take my tape off. And I'm going to get this line straight across here. And I want it going right to the corner. I start just pressing it on with my hand. And actually, what I'm going to do here, because it's not going to just go into this dent nicely, I'm going to take a razor blade and I'm going to cut it. I may need a sharper razor blade. I've used this one to get paint off of caps. And I'm trying not to hit my paint. If I do, not the end of the world, I can touch it up. I'm trying to ride this line. And one of the reasons I chose this one is because of, I did the top, I painted the top in coffee bean, and although this is black, it looks really good with coffee bean. So, next step, and somewhere, my dog Lincoln probably picked it up and is chewing on it, but I have a ton of these, because they come in every packet. This is a burnisher. And so then you just start working your transfer on. And you can kind of see when it's sticking because it becomes opaque. And I found that when my transfers are brand new, it's easier to get them on. I don't know if that's just because I'm storing them in my basement. And the other thing you need to be careful of, I did it here, I do it every time, is coming off your transfer when you're burnishing, because you'll likely dig into your paint. And several factors go into when I use a transfer, why I decide to use a transfer. A lot of times if there's, hopefully you can hear me, a lot of times when there's like a flat front that needs some additional interest just to make it pretty, I'll pick a transfer. And also what I'm going to do with the piece of furniture. If it's for me, I don't mind spending anywhere between $25 and $40 for a transfer. But if I'm going to sell this piece, or if you're going to look at selling pieces, you need to kind of look at what your market is and whether you're going to be able to recoup the cost. Like I sell on Facebook Marketplace. My website is getting developed, but right now I'm just selling on Facebook Marketplace, and it can be hard to sell a dresser for more than about $200, $225. So you have to add up your costs of, and make sure you factor in the cost of that transfer. That's another reason I like the ones that can be cut apart, because you get more mileage out of them. I don't know if you can hear that sound. It's kind of, you can actually hear the transfer releasing. I love that sound. Now if you start to peel it, and you see that it's not releasing, like there's a little spot. You see it's not releasing, just put the transfer back down and burnish some more. So right there, it was lifting. I'm just going to go back over it. And you can sort of see there's a little bit of an edge along this that it shows up depending on what color you're using. Like if you're using a dark color, this little edge shows up a lot more. And you can take just a white finishing pad and go over the edges to try to just blur those out a little bit. And some people even like to distress their transfers. I would not use even a 220 grit on my transfer. I did that once and it pulled the whole transfer off. It made lines all the way through it. So that piece became distressed even though I hadn't planned on it. So here I'm going into that crack. Another thing to point out is I always wait until my paint is completely dried. I like to wait a full day before I put a transfer on, because if there's any moisture, the transfer can lift. And then I always just kind of run my hand over it to make sure everything feels like it's down. The other thing too, I like to do these before I've done anything to my furniture in terms of sealing. Definitely before wax. And I like to do it before clear coat because intuitively to me it just makes sense that when the paint is more rough or open, I do sand first and get rid of all the particles, but it just makes sense to me that it's going to stick better. I have heard that people will put down a clear coat and then put this on and then put a clear coat over, and I put a clear coat over as well because it's like sealing the transfer down. But it doesn't. The reason they would do that is because on dark painted furniture, that little line that I was telling you about, the edge of the transfer, is more visible. And I've heard that putting the top coat and then the transfer and then the top coat makes that line less visible on dark painted pieces. I have also sealed with wax. A lot of times when I paint with white, I get nervous that when I put a polyacrylic or a top coat on it, it's going to turn yellow. And so in those cases, a lot of times I'll try to seal with wax, or I'll just seal parts of the transfer with top coat and then seal with wax. So I've laid out another piece here, and I won't bore you with my applying it. You pretty much can see how I've done that. I have taken off the hardware here because I thought that, well, it's actually going to go more like here. And so I'm going to be running over that hardware. So I did take that off. And when I'm doing these and I cut them, what I'm thinking is balance but not symmetry. So I don't want matchy match, but I do want sort of an even amount of transfer here and an even amount of transfer here. So on a solid a dresser with just straight drawers down, a lot of times I like to go on the diagonal. This is a little bit trickier to do on the diagonal, but I will put more in over here, and I'll probably put more in over here. And this transfer has beautiful script, French script. This really is one of my favorites. And I think I'll put French script right across the bottom here. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me. And if you want to see examples of more transfers that I've used, you can go to my Pinterest account, Lynn Wilson Originals. It's on Pinterest. And see some of the transfers I've used. I've used one called Sunflower Farms. I've used one called Roses in Rouge. I've used a lot of them. So if you have any questions, again, just send out a message. Thanks, and hope you have a great Sunday. Bye-bye.